What else? We will be doing a little stretch sequence in our class today. So if you have something like a yoga tie, a belt, really a long sleeve shirt can work for this as well. Just to give you a little preview, because you will be on your back when you're doing this. So it's the sequence I do a lot in this class. We start off with a little hamstring stretch. And if you don't have any props, it's totally fine. You can just use your hands for this as well. Next is an inner leg stretch, inner adductors. You might feel the hamstrings here too. Then we'll go up and over for an IT band stretch. I'll guide you through that. From there, we'll come into half happy baby pose and give you lots of options there as well. So that's the sequence. We'll do a bunch of other stuff as well. And again, if you don't have a prop like this, it's fine. There's other ways to get around it. Take care of yourself. Most important thing here. So honor what is going on for you in your body. Adapt the practice as you need. So we'll start out in a comfortable seated position, and that can be on a chair for you, or especially if your low back rounds, please use a prop of any sort to help you out and create some lift for the low back. If a cross-legged seat is not lovely, you can also just have the legs out in front like this and invite the spine to elongate. So finding a place of comfort for your own body, make any little movements to adjust mouth and jaw, eyelids. And from there, invite the eyes to soften a little bit, either fully closed or still taking on just a little bit of light. Your choice, whatever feels most comfortable. And take in a full deep breath in. Open mouth, exhale, letting it go. And take a little bit of time, however long you need, really, to arrive into this time and space that you've carved out for being in practice. Whatever else has already been going on for you today, let that slowly recede into the background. This opportunity to welcome the here and now. And even if there is tension in your body or busyness in your mind, allowing everything to coexist. And from here, gradually start to deepen your breath, active, alive inhalation, either through the nose. If you're congested, breathe through the mouth, but let it be a slow breath. And with the out breath, letting air exit through your body, softening. And continue this rhythm of breath, deep and full diaphragmatic breathing. With your next full inhalation, extend your arms out in front, palms lift to the sky. With exhale, bend at your elbows, trace the front line of your body. So as if you were wiping away, holding tension. Inhale again, palms extend forward, arms lift to the sky. Gentle wiping motion down, trace the front line of your body. A few rounds, coordinating your breath, your motion. Inhale for a little scoop up. Exhale to bend and lower. Inhale to lift, extend up. With the exhalation, draw palms together, pause them in front of your heart space. You can also take one hand flat to heart, other hand on top of that. Take a moment here to connect to something you're grateful for. Gratitude, this potent force that can support us, especially with the mind. The mind often requires about 5 positive things to unfold for every 1 negative thing. So we remember the negative more. Opportunity in this practice to steep into what you're grateful for. It could be in your body, or it could be just any little thing throughout your day. Sun, connection with someone, having shelter, water, food. To that place of gratitude, each other's company, this time for practice. Gently bow head to heart. And slowly release, lengthen to your spine, remove prop. If you're using it for a seat, out of the way. Hands come back behind, stretch out through your legs to relieve any pressure from your knees. Point your toes. Make a little windshield wiper motion, right to left. Slowly pause here, bend your knees, swing your legs all the way back behind. Come forward, hands under shoulders, knees under hips for tabletop position. You can double up your mat or use another prop for your knees. With inhalation, expand your heart forward, low back curve, cow stretch. Exhale, scoop your tailbone under, round chin to sternum, cat stretch. Inhale again, undulate, open, and with the exhalation, round in. A few more rounds to explore your breath and motion here, working with spinal movements. Final cycle here to round. Using the next cycle of breath to return your low back to a neutral place. On your inhale, take your hands to your thighs, rise up, kneeling position, sweep the arms up to the sky. With exhalation, lean over to the right side. Inhale through center, opposite side. A few more times, lateral stretches of your side body. Inhale, next time, whichever side you're on, come back through center space. With exhalation, lower back down. Tabletop position. Inhale to extend your right leg back behind you. With the out breath, step your foot through in between your hands. Take as long as you need. Hand to calf support can also be useful here. Curl your back toes under, fingertips alive. Inhale to lift, back knee high. Exhale, step up, front edge of your space, forward fold, as many steps as it takes. Inhale to lift and lengthen halfway up, L shape, spine long. And with the exhalation, fold back down. A few more rounds. Inhale for halfway lift. Bend your knees as much as you need to elongate your spine. Exhale to bow back down. Final cycle for inhale, lift. With your exhale, bend your knees, shift the weight back, root. Inhale, rise all the way up to standing. Exhale, hands release down to heart space. With inhale, float the palms back up to the sky. With your out breath, rotate at your ribs, twist right. Inhale through center, arms lift just a little bit. Enough for the breath to sink. Exhale, twist left. Few little motions side to side here. Final cycle over to the left side. And with your inhale, expand palms to the sky. Exhale, open wide, release your arms by your side body. Take a wider stance with your feet, creating a little bit more warmth through the legs. Inhale to lift, arms circle to the sky. With exhale, span wide, pause at T position, bend your knees, squat low. Inhale to lift, palms back up. Exhale again, squat low, shift the weight back. Inhale to lift. Out breath to sink. You can stay in this up or down motion, or for a little bit more fire, next time around as you pause, sustain here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, rise back up through center. Exhale, release, hands through middle space. Bring your hands onto your hips. Adjust a shorter stance, more hip distance. Root down into the support of your right foot. Look down at the ground for balance. Inhale, either tap dance your left foot off the earth or float it to sustain, building a little heat on one side through balance. Standing leg creates a little micro bend to fire up through the muscles. Arms again, expand out to T if that's available. Deep breath here. With the exhale, lower your foot down to the ground. Take one cycle with the arms. Inhale to extend, arms lift. Exhale, hands lower down through heart center. Palms back to your hips, look down, shift left. Inhale, float right knee towards hip height, or do the tap dance if balance is a little bit more challenging. Stabilize there, option to layer on through the arms. Length from your hips all the way to the top of your head, deep breathing. One more inhalation. Exhale to lower your foot back down, lower the arms. Inhale again, sweep the arms high, palms touch. Exhale, lower hands through middle space. Take your feet again, one more time, a little wider. Inhale to expand, arms rise. With the exhale, bend your knees, shift the weight back. Again, you can pulse back out and into this, otherwise sustain here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale to rise back up through center. Exhale, release, hands through middle space. Adjust your feet. Supportive stance here, just in case there's more tension left in your body. Draw shoulders up to your ears. Bring your hands to fists. Squeeze your inner legs, glutes, toes, even crunch and squeeze a little here. Scrunch your face up as if you just tasted a sour lemon. Take a deep breath in. Exhale it out, soften everything. Optional sound, sigh. One more time, contract your whole body here. Shoulders to ears, fist, belly, inner legs, glutes, toes, super contracted. Take a breath, hold it here for 3, 2, 1. With an exhale, soften everything, let it go. And from there, reawaken through your eyes. Find place to help you again for balance. Both hands come to your hips. Shift the weight to your left foot. And gradually take your right leg back behind you. Reach back behind for your ankle, your foot. If this is a challenging reach, use your prop here for a little bit more support. So wherever you're at, especially if you're not feeling much of a stretch, take the heel towards your sitting bone. At the same time, anchor your knee in the direction of the ground as if you had a little weight hanging there. So inviting a stretch for your quad in standing here. We'll sustain this a little bit longer to create more opening. Know that you can always come out earlier. If that isn't serving you, stay with your breath. One more full deep inhalation. And with the exhale, slowly release down, switch sides, anchor into your right foot, bend your left knee back behind, grab your foot and check in. This side might be tighter, more open. Note what it needs. Mindful of your shoulders. Find the sweet spot for your stretch. Just enough. One more deep, active inhalation. With the exhalation, gradual release. Lower your foot back down to the ground. From the front edge of your mat, inhale to expand, arms lift high. With the exhale, hinge at your hips this time, fold forward right into a forward bend. Here, micro bend your knees as much as you need for low back or hamstring support. We'll take this gravity assisted stretch. Know that you can always come onto forearms to thighs if this feels a little too intense. Next layer from here, letting the whole torso and arms be heavy towards the ground. And from that place, option to take hands to elbows or forearms. Add a little sway forward, back, right, left, Ragdoll Pose. Allow your mouth and jaw to open, be spacious, head and neck heavy. Using gravity here to create some traction for your spinal column. A few more cycles of connected breath here. And use an inhalation, gradually release the hands if they're folded. Take a halfway lift. Exhale to fold back down towards the ground. Take time, hands touch down, one foot back, one knee down, then the other foot, other knee down. Returning to tabletop position. With your inhalation, extend your right leg back behind. Keep it curled onto your space. And from there, start to press your heel back, creating a little stretch for your calf. This is not enough. Explore lowering onto your forearm. Traction your forearms forward, especially if you're using a sticky mat, against the stick of your mat. That's going to plant your back heel even further back to amplify the stretch. So check in with what you need here. Remember, going at 100% at the stretch is not necessarily beneficial or more beneficial. So finding just that sweet spot, you can always add a little rock, a few rocks and movements here. Relax any tension from your head, your neck. Final breath in. Use the exhale to gently release your knee down. Come back up onto all fours. Take just one moment. Little break for one cycle. Cow stretch, drawing forward with an in-breath. Exhale to round. Inhale, return. Low back to neutral. With your exhale, take time. Switch sides here. Left leg draws back, toes stay curled, start to press back. You can traction your hands forward here to amplify the stretch in the calf. Checking in how much you need. The next layer can explore forearms down again, same traction forward. So finding the place that feels most supportive for you. Remember, you can make any little micro movements. Stay with the breath. Check in here with your mental awareness and presence. If your attention is drifting somewhere else, opportunity to honor whatever is going on in your mind and then bring your mind's eye to this time of sensation, of breath, of noticing what you're grateful for here and now. Final inhale. With your exhale, release your knee back down. If you're on your forearms, come back onto all fours. Inhale to draw forward, cow stretch, low back space. With the exhalation, again, a little rounding cat stretch. Inhale to return your low back to neutral. From here, gradually take your fingertips, turn them towards your legs. Everyone will be in a different place here, so it really just depends on your wrists. You might be at a more of really any angle here is valid, so don't overdo it. Find the place where it's just enough. Deep full breath here. With the exhalation, slowly start to migrate the hips back. This will amplify the wrist stretch. So checking in again, where's that place where it's just enough, but not too much. You can always rock out and then back into the stretch. Three more rounds of slow breathing patterns here. Inhale and exhale. Use the inhalation to rock your weight forward. Come off of your wrists. Use the next breath to take hands to thighs, rise up kneeling position, circle the arms up to the sky, and make little circular motions with your wrist. Fingers can draw in, start to move the arms down, shake it out a little bit, releasing any tension from the forearm, wrists. Gradually return back down to tabletop. Step your knees behind of your hips. Space yourself out here as much as you need. Take your arms forward in space and slowly begin to lower your forehead down to the ground. If the forehead doesn't comfortably come to the earth, use a prop here. So a book, a block, anything to add some more, or to fill in the space rather, between your forehead and the ground. Keep the arms a little bit more active here in this stretch, puppy stretch. So targeting the shoulders, rhomboids, shoulder blades, even the upper traps getting a little bit of a release here. Keep lengthening your hips and sitting bones back and stretch the fingertips forward. And from that place, let a little bit of softness at the mid and upper back, so the back of the heart melts, letting go. Relax through your mouth, your jaw. A few more cycles of breath here. Remembering you can always adjust if there's discomfort. Play with a little bit of motion. Notice what happens if you make a shift. How does that how does that change your stretch? Gently use an inhaling breath, bend your elbows, press back up onto all fours. Extend your hips to one side, lengthen your legs. Out in front, take a moment to stretch out the legs, point your toes forward, to release any little underside of the knee pressure. Again, little windshield wiper with the legs and feet, right to left. From here, bend your knees, make sure that you have, if you have a belt and some sort of a prop, take it back behind to your space. Inhale to elongate. Exhale, use the strength of your core here. Slowly recline all the way down onto your mat space. Take a moment to feel your body on the ground. Deep breath in. Optional sound, sigh with your exhale, let go any tension. And from there, take your left ankle to your right thigh, right below your knee. Figure 4 or supine pigeon pose to begin here. This might be enough for some people, so stay there with the stretch. If you need more, right foot comes off of the ground. And from there, if you are still seeking more sensation, take your left hand through the window opening, right hand wraps back behind of your hamstring or on top of your right knee. So lots of layers in this posture. Find the place where you feel most supported. Sweet spot in the stretch. If your hands are interlaced on top of your knee, you're still not feeling a lot. Start to use a bit of arm strength to hug the legs towards your torso. At the same time, press your particularly right knee into your hands and a little bit of resistance, so pressing away from your body. Once again, here, little micro motions, gentle rocking is welcome. As best you can, keep your low back and sacrum onto your mat space or the ground. So if you have your hands interlaced on top of your knee and your low back is off the ground, better off to retract a little back. Hands come behind your hamstrings or even foot to the earth so your low back can stay stable on the ground. Send your breath into any areas of sensation. Three more rounds of deep breath here. This posture often useful to relieve hip pressure, tension through the piriformis muscle that lives under the glutes. We can often create pain when we've been sitting quite a long time. Final inhale breath. With the out breath, gently release. If your hands are interlaced, right foot lands onto the ground. Grab your prop. Extend your left leg high, wrap your tie around your foot. If you don't have a tie, interlace your hands behind your left hamstring. If you're using a tie, make sure your shoulders are relaxed on the ground. So unnecessary to hold the tie way up. I'm just letting the shoulders have a break here. From that place, gently create a bit of tug down at the same time. Press your foot back into your prop. I'm finding the balance stretch here for your hamstring. Again, any little movement, circles, gentle explorations, welcome. Stay connected to the breath. The right knee stays bent, especially for low back support. However, you can extend it long if you don't find that impacting your lumbar spine. One more inhalation. On the out breath, take your time. Both ends of your thigh come to your left hand. Start to open your left leg out to the side of your space. This is way too intense. Know that you can always slide some sort of a prop, block, book, folded blanket or cushion underneath of your left thigh or calf. Rather more your shin, the side of the leg, to create a bit more support. Finding the balance point here. You might feel this on your hamstrings, inner line of your leg. Deep breathing. And use an inhale to lift your left leg back up to center. If it's available for your low back, start to extend your right leg long onto the mat or just part way as you begin to arc your left leg over towards the right side for IT band stretch. The angle varies here for every single person, so see what type of angle works best for you to feel something. You might still feel this in the hamstrings, or you might find an angle that works the side band of your leg. Utilize your breath to guide any areas of tension. Use your next breath in, lift your left leg back up through center. With exhale, bend your knee a little bit out to the side, foot to the sky, half happy baby pose. Especially if this feels challenging, rebend your right knee, right foot to the earth. This will help out a little bit. Start to tug the leg down. At the same time, resist, foot presses back to the sky. You don't have a tie, just grab onto your calf or ankle. Only the sole of the foot, if you're low back, can still have a little bit of spaciousness staying on the ground, sacrum rooted. Breathing into the inner groin here. Again, any little explorations of movement are always welcome in your stretch. Three more rounds of concentrated breath here. Use an out breath to gently release. If your low back allows, extend both of your legs long onto the earth. Otherwise, keep them bent, but rest one knee to the side of the other. Relax through your prop, your hands. See how soft you can get here. Take a moment to receive the effects of one side compared to the other. And check in with your mind. If your thoughts are drifting, come back to this moment. Slowly rebend both of your knees onto the earth, or feet rather, onto the earth. Take your right ankle to your left thigh, right below the knee for figure 4, second side. This might be plenty, or from there explore your options. Lift foot, hands interlace behind hamstring, on top of knee. And then adding traction if that's not enough. So you'll notice that in many of these stretches, we're not just moving the stretch in one extreme direction. There's often a little bit of resistance to make sure that the muscles are staying just a little bit engaged. This is particularly useful if you're quite flexible and open. So we want to avoid over stretching ligaments, joints. So still getting an ample stretch, even as there's a little bit of tension present. One final full deep breath. With your exhale, gently release. Foot back down to the ground. Take your right leg high, wrap your prop around or interlace your hands behind your hamstring. Hands hold low so the shoulders can be at ease. A little tug down at the same time. Press your foot back into the prop or towards the sky. Low back, sacrum, still on the ground, so there's even a little bit of space in the lumbar. And find the exploration here for this side of your body might be very different than the other side, acknowledging that distinction, being present to what's needed in this stretch, in this moment today. And take one more inhaling breath. On your exhale, both ends of the thigh to your right hand, start to move your leg open to the right side of your space. And find the place that has comfort and then also a bit of sensation, so you're still getting something from the stretch. If you're not feeling a lot here, start to maneuver your foot in the direction of the line of your head, so more towards the upper part of your body, but at the same time create a little bit of resistance towards the feet side of your body. Still staying active through the stretch, mindful to not overdo it here in the inner line. A few more rounds to stay with it. Notice how gravity assists you here, how things slowly open through sustaining the stretch. Remembering you can always use a prop underneath your leg for a little bit more support. Use your next in breath to slowly lift your leg back up to center. If it's available, extend your left leg long or part way. Start to arc your right leg towards the left side of your space. IT band stretch. Explore the angle here. And also knowing that it's normal to have other experiences in the stretch here. You might still feel your hamstrings, your calf. Find the angle that is right for your body in this moment. Any little micro movements, welcome. Staying here a few more rounds of breath. Use an inhale to lift back up through center, half happy baby pose. Bend your knee for more support. Left foot comes back down to the ground. Keeping the hands onto your thigh, or you can move them onto your leg. Little tug down at the same time, press your foot back to the sky. Exploring what is unfolding for you here through your inner groin. Acknowledge any little shaking or turbulence in your leg. Stay with it a few more rounds of deep connected breath. Remember, you can always release something earlier. Check in with your individual experience here. One more deep inhale. Exhale to gently release. Both legs long or one knee resting at the side of the other. Relax through your arms. Put your prop down. Take a moment here to notice and receive the side of the stretch. And gradually, with a soft inhalation, rebend both of your knees, heels about 5 to 6 inches away from your sitting bones. If you have a book block, something that can be used as that kind of prop, feel free to have it nearby. Feet active, arms, shoulders pressed down. With the inhale, start to lift through your hips and pelvis, squeeze your glutes, rising into bridge pose. Create a little bit of freedom for your spinal column here. If you want to take a more resting version of this, slide your block, any other prop underneath of your sacrum. Otherwise, sustaining here a few cycles to free up any tension from your spine. One more breath in. With the exhalation, lower back down to the ground. Land, if you're using a block or other prop, come off of that. And from this place, take your arms out to the side, either T position or bend your elbows for cactus arms. If you have less space, use both of your feet for support. Lift your hips just a little bit off the ground. Move them to the left side of your space. So it's a little scooch, just a tad of a scooch over to the left, then everything lands back down. Keeping this now, start to twist both of your knees over to the right side of your space. If there's discomfort or the top knee is feeling tense, slide something in between of your legs, or you can also place a prop underneath of the right knee, the lower leg, to help out. Left shoulder is your base point, stays anchored for this twist. You can stay right there or rotate your head over to the left side. Use the breath here to create expansion through the side of your ribs. With every inhale, little inflation. And with the exhalation, softening through your side body. And use a gentle in-breath to draw your knees back up to center, both feet to the ground, root into your feet, and maneuver your hips way over to the right side of your space. That's a little scooch. Keeping that now, twist your knees opposite side to the left. If this is way too intense on your low back, know that you can always scoop your tailbone down a little bit or create a little bit less of a slide with the hips. The idea is it gives the low back a bit more freedom here. Right shoulder stays anchored for this side of the twist. Use any props that you need for your legs, knees. And if it's comfortable, rotate your head to the right side. Otherwise, keep the chin skyward, neck at neutral. Stay with the breath here. Notice if you're holding on to any unnecessary tension through your mouth, your jaw, cheekbones, eyelids. Can you invite a little bit more softening? And checking in again with this idea of gratitude, thankfulness. What is it that you can affirm that's working well in your life today? something to celebrate, even if it's seemingly very small. And use an inhaling breath to lightly release your knees back up to center. Use both of your feet, readjust your hips and pelvis, sacrum to neutral. Hug your knees towards your heart space. Take one final little squeeze here. Deep breath in. On the exhale, span your legs long onto the earth. Arms relax by the side of your body. Space out your limbs as much as you can here for comfort, ease. If your low back is tender, slide something underneath of your knees. You can always bend both knees and have one knee resting to the side of the other. Cover up your eyes with any additional props or any layers that you need for your body to stay at a cozy temperature. And take time here to give yourself this gift of pause and rest. Letting go of any remaining unnecessary holding, tension, tightness. And simply be here and rest. I'll guide you out in a little bit. And very gradually become more aware of your body as you rest. If you have more time to stay in this place, know that that option is available to you. Otherwise, begin to invite a deeper breath in and some gentle waking motions with your fingers, toes, head, neck. Any other movements, full body stretch, arms over head or to the sky. With an inhalation, draw your knees to center, roll over to a fetal position, right or left. And take a moment to pause there in this shape of nurturance, self-care. Mindfully find a way to lift back up. Take a comfortable seat. Use any prop that you need here to uplift, especially for your low spine. Relax through your eyelids, partway or fully closed. Spinal column long. Once you've settled, take either the palms to touch in front of your heart or one hand on top of the other at heart center. And take note here of anything that you're aware of, what has shifted through your engagement and inquiry with this practice of movement, breath, opening, awareness. And to affirm yourself for showing up, each other's company, and this ability that we have to remember gratitude, even in the smallest things, to support us throughout the day. Gently bow your head to your own heart space. Celebrating your wisdom, your strength. Namaste.